everyone, Lady Steam here. In this video, we're going to talk about how to build our Nautilus pin kit. This is one of our favorite products. It's been around for a while, and we'll talk about how to decorate it, what the pieces and parts are, as well as walk you through the assembly. Okay, let's dig right into making our Nautilus now. I'm going to put this pre-built one on the side, and then we'll open the box and talk about the things you need to be able to make your kit. Remember that you'll need a screwdriver, sandpaper or a sander, and some glue. We use super glue, and I'm going to demo with super glue. You can use wood glue as well, but remember, if you use wood glue, you'll need to stop and make sure you clamp pieces and have them dry one step at a time. And your box has a sleeve on it that you'll pull off nicely. It'll also have a sticker on it. My box right now doesn't have one, but it'll have a sticker on it, and you'll open that sticker, and then you'll be able to look at the kit itself. Now, you're also going to have a set of tips and tricks up here. Please take a look at our techniques videos if you'd like some additional hints on building these products and decorating them. We talk about sanding and all of the different ways you can decorate your parts. And you have a parts list here. So I'm going to put the parts list on the side, and we'll talk about what you'll find in your kit box. First, you're going to have a big piece like this. This will be the base of your Nautilus. A screw bag, I'm going to put that on the side. My gears I'm going to put on the side, and then we're also going to have an arch that will fit over your pin like this, and a big gear that's going to spin here as the base for our Nautilus. Now, you'll also need a pair of scissors so you can open these bags. And I'm going to open my bag right here and pull out gears. Now, we've given you 3. You should only need 2. But in case you break something or have an issue with it, we wanted you to have 1 extra one. And the way this piece is going to go together, this will go on top here, and this will go on top here when we do our final assembly. Now, we designed it with these little rivets on it so you can make it very nautical and sea-like if you want to. That's certainly one option, and it's up to you if you want to do that. You can sand it and stain it. You can decorate it with pins, but the one thing you're going to want to make sure you do, paint, not pins, is you want to make sure you sand all the pieces that rub against each other. So you'll notice at the bottom of this, rubs across the top of that. So you want to make sure you sand that. You'll want to make sure you sand the bottom of the big gear and the top of this just to make it all spin smoothly as you go. So the recommendation is stop the video here and then sand and decorate your pieces. The more time you spend decorating, the more amazing your Nautilus piece will be. We have used patina paints in the past, and if you want to look up some information on patina paints, there are a couple of different manufacturers of patina paint, and you can Google that and look and learn all about patina paints and the things you can do with patina and actually turning the wood into something very special and amazing, or you can do something as simple as just going through and using wood stain on it. So pause the video here and then come back when you're ready to assemble. Now that you're ready to build your Nautilus, let's talk about what those pieces in your hardware kit are. You'll notice that you've got 2 1/2-inch screws and 2 nuts. That's the only hardware we'll need to put it together. We also have this thing we're going to call a spacer, and we'll talk about how that spacer works in a minute. In your box, underneath everything, you should also find a piece of scrap wood. This one's already been decorated some on testing pins, but you can have used it for testing your pins. And so what you're going to get here is the following pieces: 2 pin backs, the screws, your spacer, and this little sanding stick. And no, this isn't a mistake. I'll show you where you may need to use it when we go through to do your assembly. So the first thing I like to do, just to make sure everything is fitting together nicely, is just use the screw here. This screw was set to actually screw in so it lines up perfectly. So I'm just going to put a little single twist in to hold it in place. And the reason I want to do that is we're going to glue this archway onto this half of the pin. And we want to make sure when we do that, that the gear doesn't hit the arch at all. And so that's the safest way to do that. I'm going to put a little line of glue. And like I said, I'm using super glue all across the back. And I'm going to line it up perfectly to the edges. And so those lines just show. And then I'm going to make sure that my gear still spins properly. With super glue, when you push down on it, the glue will sit. And now we have our lovely arch glued on. Now we're ready to do the one bit of prep that assembling one of these takes. And that's going to be gluing this Nautilus gear onto our big drive gear. So the way I do that is I'm going to put a circle of glue around the glue hole, try to avoid the glue hole itself. I'm going to run a line of glue down one of the bars. Then I'm going to take my 1/2-inch screw, put it through a Nautilus like so, drop it through the hole, and set it down. Again, if you're using wood glue, you want to make sure you leave that to dry for a minute. Make sure that stays nice. And don't move it until you've actually got it to dry. If you have a spare paper towel with you, and you've got any extra glue on the edge, you can get rid of it. The other option is to put the glue on the bottom, but you can see from this where that glue would want to go. And now we've built our drive gear. With super glue, it only takes it a minute to dry, but make sure it doesn't get misaligned or nothing will work. This Nautilus has really tight alignment settings. And now I'm going to screw this screw in the rest of the way, but I'm going to leave a little tiny bit of space between the top of the screw and the top of the bottom of the screw and the top of the wood, so it will continue to spin loosely. And if it doesn't spin loosely, you can back your screw out just a little ways. Make sure the Nautilus will spin smoothly both directions. And now we're ready for the next piece of the puzzle. And that piece is putting on your other gear. You actually have a couple of options here. I tend to do it without gluing this on first. You have the option of gluing that spacer in. Just running your screw through like that and using that as alignment to glue the spacer down. I don't think you need to do that, but it's one option. If you do, go ahead and do that now. Then I'm just going to take the gear and my spacer, and I'm going to run those into that hole. Now, I have to get the Nautilus aligned right. And the way to align the Nautilus is that tooth there and that tooth there are going to line up perfectly. So we're just going to put that in and tighten that down again the same way we did on the other side. And I'm going to tighten it down again just so I have a little bit of space between the two and make sure this is spinning loosely. And it wants to go back just a hair and loosen it up just a little bit. Now here's the challenge with Nautilus. This is a multi-speed gear. You'll notice that we're going from small to large. And these teeth line up really carefully. And as long as I keep going this direction, my alignment is fine. But as soon as I try to spin this other direction, sometimes it jams a little bit. And you can see where it's jamming is right on the tip of that one tooth there. Now, if you continually drive this direction from this right tooth, you'll never have that problem. But we want people to be able to spin it as slow or fast as they want in either direction. And so we've given you this little sanding stick. And if you're running into that problem that I just hit, you can use your little sanding stick and you can sand just on the inside of that one tooth. And if that's too much of a problem, you can always unscrew both pieces and give yourself more room to do this little tiny bit of sanding. And we're just going to take off a little bit of wood on the inside of the tip of that one tooth. And once you do that, then you should be able to spin back this direction much easier. And I clearly haven't got enough off yet, but you'll go ahead and sand enough to get to that one tooth. Now, hopefully you didn't do any painting on the inside of your teeth. If you did, you may need to take the sandpaper and go all the way around them a little bit. This thickness is really tight, especially right at the tips. So once you've got that spinning nicely, you're ready to do the little bit of work it takes to finish your Nautilus. So I'm going to flip this over. And I'm using super glue. If you prefer, you can use Loctite if you have it. And I'm just going to put a dot of super glue on the back of these two teeth. And screw that in. I'm not going to tighten it down. I want to make sure it stays nice and loose. And then I'm actually going to go check it on the front to make sure that tightening that down didn't tighten the screws in too tightly. And I'm still fine going both directions here. And last but not least, I'm ready to put my pin backs on. At this point, you've got lots of choices. I typically put my pin backs right here on a pin, and I'm just going to put a drop of glue on. And I'm going to set this on the side and let these two dry. Now, I will give you one more Steamy Tech trick. If you have baking soda at home, baking soda works great to set super glue quickly. So if you're using super glue on these, you can take a little bit of baking soda and put it on the top of those, and they'll settle right in and dry very, very quickly. Or there's a chemical compound called Instaset you can get at your hobby store, and that would dry that screw instantly. And at that point, you have a beautiful Steamy Tech Nautilus pin. You can wear it as a hat pin. You can wear it on your sweater or put it on your bag. And the one other thing you need to know about Nautilus is if somebody gets to playing with them, they can misalign them. At which point they can get them out of alignment if they're very, very skilled. And I'm actually not going to be skilled enough today to do it. And if they get it out of alignment, then you'll do this. You'll use both this gear and this gear, and you can slowly get them lined up this way and work them back into alignment if they've come out. And when I made this one, I made it tight enough it doesn't want to come apart. But occasionally you'll get one that will disengage, and you can easily re-engage it by very gently pulling on the two pieces of wood and separating them. And then putting them back together with the two teeth lined up here. We've got these strong enough now, it's unlikely you'll break them doing that, but that's why you've got an extra Nautilus, just in case you do. Thank you.